All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do you say we get right into it? Welcome back to Blonde Politics, and it is Sunday. No, it is not Sunday. It is Wednesday, September 17th. Sorry, my apologies. And if I look and sound like crap, that's because I feel, look, and sound like crap, so my apologies right off the bat. But regardless of how I feel, any day is a good day not to be Kash Patel. Like, there's a really long list of people that I would not want to be on this planet at this moment in time. And very high up on that list right now is Kash Patel, because he got his ass handed to him yesterday at the Senate. And it seems like there's more of that going on today at the House. We got a lot to talk about. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you are not already, I appreciate it. We're on our way to 15K for subscribers. We're on our way to 1,000 YouTube members, which is unbelievable to me. I think that's probably the most beneficial and probably the most prominent statistic that I'd like to put out there is this, with the limited number of subscribers that I have, to be able to have almost 1,000 members on the show is really something special. And I appreciate you guys. Welcome to everybody on this space as well. Appreciate Matt for allowing me to do this. And thank you guys for hitting that like button. But there's a lot to get into. We'll be talking about the Israeli ground push into Gaza City. We'll be talking about the Trump administration clearing weapons shipments to Ukraine, which is a good sign. But again, from what I'm seeing, it still looks like Donald Trump's sticking to that defensive only, but we'll go through the Reuters article and see if we can find out any more details about that. And of course, we might even check in live right now, because I think Kash is still live at this moment. Let me see if I can bring him in, because he's not having fun, ladies and gentlemen. He is just not having fun. He's getting his ass reamed. We got a lot of clips to get to. I know Asen and people like Aaron Rupar and stuff have been doing a good job at covering this and posting the clips so that we don't have to suffer through the whole thing. But let me see if I can put this on the area. Look at him. Look at him. Doesn't look comfortable, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't look comfortable. You can tell he wants to be anywhere else. I don't really think he's having the time that he thought he was going to have as FBI director there. People have questions in this country. People have questions about not only Trump, Epstein, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, the whole crew, right? So they question him about Epstein. They question him about the Charlie Kirk investigation, which, more information has been released, more messages have been released, which, again, I don't know. I don't have a tinfoil hat, guys. I'm sorry. I have no tinfoil hat. But what I do have is a World War II helmet that I will put on. I'm just not that guy. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not. But it seems like every bit of information that we get from the FBI or law enforcement just seems to raise more questions. Okay? Because unless Tyler Robertson and his lover, his partner there, are fucking robots, I've never heard anyone speak the way that they speak. Now, does that mean that it's not plausible? Does that mean it's not possible? No, of course not. Of course, there's people speak different ways on different platforms in different ways, and that's fine. But it's just not adding up. We went over yesterday the discrepancies that the prominent discrepancies in assembling and disassembling many times of the weapon, and where he changed, how he changed, we changed back and it changed back into the same. It just, a lot of it is not adding up. To release these messages that seemingly were perfectly written by ChatGPT, if you ask me, that were using perfect punctuation, seemingly gave away all the whole ball game. All the information you could possibly hope for was in these text messages. There was no timeline on them. It seemingly went from one day to the next day right into it without kind of telling us, this, without giving us the separation. There's a lot to get into. And again, I'm sorry to put on the tinfoil hat, but there's questions, and people have questions, and people want answers, and unfortunately we're not getting. But let's check in real quick to see what Kash Patel is going through. If there's nothing happening right now, we'll get into some of the prominent clips that have been posted from this interaction. Let's see if I can check in, see what's he getting questioned on now.
Is very important that has not been addressed enough today, and that is related to the consequences of the Biden open border. One consequence of the Biden border crisis is the impact that it
All right, so right off the bat, takes me about 0.3 seconds to recognize that he's being questioned by a Republican. So probably not going to get any prominent information or any prominent questioning from that. So I'll let that play, let that go live. We'll check in with some of these other clips that I have pulled up from this from this shit show that is going on. And there's a ton of them. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to all of the, like I said, all of the ones, but we'll just kind of flip through Aaron Rupar and Asen, and because they have a bunch of them posted here. But it's just, Kash Patel in every single one of them that I've seen so far is like, get me the fuck out of here. Like, I do not want to be here. I don't want to be answering your questions. I would rather be anywhere in the world but here. Like, he's clicking his heels under that fucking table so many times. He's probably worn out his souls by now. All right, let's see if we can get into it, because there's Jamie Raskin giving him the who, what, and where withal. Let's see what this is pertaining to. Raskin and Patel, in a few short months, how did you go from being a crusader for accountability and transparency with the Epstein files and being part of the conspiracy and cover up? The answer is simple. You said it yourself, because of who is on that list. And there are some great lines of questioning here, which is probably the reason why Kash Patel is so frustrated. But, before I get into my theories here, what do you say? I just want to make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Yes, you are. And let's play this clip from from this morning, and you might have to turn it up. I know, I apologize. Sometimes the sound sucks on Twitter. That's my apologies, but you can turn it up. I'll let it play the whole way through, and then I'll give my 2 cents. What do you say?
1,000 victims betraying all of the survivors of the sexual violence. Before you got in this job, you called for full release of the Epstein files, telling podcaster Benny Johnson that the only reason the list was not released by DOJ and FBI was, quote, because of who's on that list. Upon your confirmation, you promised that, quote, there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. This spring, you ordered hundreds of agents to pore over all the Epstein files, but not to look for more clues about the money network or the network of human traffickers. You pulled these agents from their regular counterterrorism or drug trafficking duties to work around the clock, some of them sleeping at their desks, to conduct a frantic search to make sure Donald Trump's name and image were flagged and redacted wherever they appeared, whether an email, a text, a letter.
All right, so, and just to kind of give you a little context, I apologize. I said I wouldn't stop it, but I always do. Just to give you a little context, so he's being questioned on whether or not, active agents were being pulled from jobs and from the resources were being pulled from active investigations into, murderers and people that are actively dangerous in the society. And people were pulled off of those investigations and pulled off of those duties in order to sift through these fucking files. Remember the 1,000 agents, and to make sure that every single time that Trump's name was in these files, it was redacted, right? So he's being questioned on whether or not it was the appropriate use of his force, the appropriate use of his power to remove people from, prominent investigations, prominent duties, going after dangerous criminals, to sift through a multitude of fucking paperwork looking for any instance in which Donald Trump or Donald Trump's buddies' names are mentioned, so that he can cross it out with some whiteout or with a Sharpie or something. You know what I mean? Like, does that seem like the natural way to use the resources? Like, it seems like you're actively using the government and the agents and the people involved in that as props to actively engage in your conspiracy, right? Like, so you're using these people, telling them it's part of their duty, part of their obligation, part of their job as an FBI agent to sift through these fucking files and cover up for the president of the United States. I think I'd have a fucking problem with that. I'm pretty sure I'd have a fucking problem with that. But again, you have to put yourself in the agent's shoes, families, mortgages, things, maybe you're not fully aware. You're being told by the director of the FBI to do this, or you're going to lose your job. You've seen the repercussions from other government officials being fired when they don't agree with or, toe the line. So they've given a huge incentive to these people that are working now inside the government to kind of, like I said, toe the line, walk the line, fucking make sure that they pull that propaganda as far as they could possibly pull it. And if you don't, you're up on the fucking chopping block. You're next. Your head could be next, and we'll be happy to watch it roll down Capitol Hill. To the demise of your family, to you losing your home, your career, and we'll just fucking laugh ourselves all the way back to the bank and continue to cross out Trump's name on the Epstein file. So this is that line of questioning. I think we'll hear more about this as well from some of these other clips. Dan Goldman does a great job. Whatever you think about Dan Goldman, does a great job. He kind of gets into the weeds because being a prosecutor himself, a lot of it does become somewhat kind of hard to understand unless you're a law and order junkie or have worked in the fucking justice system yourself. But you can follow the gist. But let's see what else Jamie Raskin has to say to Kash here.
interview, a photograph, or a video. In May, Attorney General Bondi reportedly told Trump that his name had indeed appeared multiple times throughout the Epstein files. And not long thereafter, in July, you and the Attorney General released a memo claiming that, quote, no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. In a few short months, how did you go from being a crusader for accountability and transparency for the Epstein files to being a part of the conspiracy and cover-up? The answer is simple. You said it yourself, because of who's on that list. Donald Trump's relationship with Epstein over the years is well documented. A week ago, the Oversight Committee released Trump's disturbing birthday book note to Epstein, written over a drawing of a woman's naked body, referring to a, quote, wonderful secret. The Oversight Committee obtained the note.
I bet you the first politician that brought in like these huge boards to be fucking held up behind them, if it was a Republican, is really, really fucking not happy that he decided to start that trend. Because I feel like Democrats, say what you want about them, have at least made good use of the fact that like these props are now, can be shown behind you, and to provide further evidence to your testimony, to what you're saying, to corroborate what you're saying. Now look at fucking Jim Jordan right here. Look at Jim Jordan, eye level with Donald Trump's Bush signature, right? With Donald Trump's fucking with pube writing. How do you feel now, there, Chief? How's it feel? You want to go back to Ohio State? You got a couple things to say about some students there at Ohio State on the wrestling squad? Maybe you want to get off your chest? And speaking of chest, don't forget, as we look at this picture again, that one can only assume that it represents an underdeveloped female, let's just say, to keep it as PC as fucking possible. But I think you get my drift on what I'm saying, right? It doesn't look like Jim Jordan's too eager to look back at Donald Trump's signature, anything he wrote, or the disgusting drawing with no arms. I don't know, whatever. And dive deep into the mind of that fucking sick freak, and you'll find yourself in some serious trouble. So I'm not even going to try to break down that one. But look at Jim Jordan. Look, this is the face of a man. This is the face of a man that knows that he covered up sexual allegations at Ohio State and is sitting here as, I believe, chair of the committee, if I'm not mistaken, doing it again. Once again, actively involved in a conspiracy, in a cover-up, to again protect more fucking egregious, monstrous pedophiles. And Jim Jordan somehow finds his way right in the middle of it again. Look at him. Look at him. He's like, I ain't looking back at that fucking thing. I am not looking back at that.
From the Epstein estate, not from the FBI, raising questions again of whether the FBI has been withholding documents.
I'm drinking water. Ladies and gentlemen, you can tell if I'm drinking water. Things are never going good. Things are never good if I'm drinking water. I mean, something's wrong.
While you're unleashing the FBI to cater to Trump's desire to shut down the Epstein inquiry, the first 9 months of the Trump presidency have seen a spate of political violence and domestic terror events. We saw 1,000 victims.
That. Now let's see. There's a couple other ones, and what he's saying there just kind of reminded me, and I don't know if it was Mehdi Hassan. Let's see if I can pull this up in rapid time. I think it was Mehdi Hassan who pointed out to, was it Chris Cuomo? It was either Chris Cuomo or Piers Morgan, and he points out the accurate, statistical representation of, who is behind and responsible for the majority of political violence in this country. Let me see if this pulls it up. One day ago, this might be the clip that I'm talking about. Let's just see if I can play this clip here of Mehdi on with Chris Cuomo and see if I can just get lucky and see if this is the clip that I'm talking about, where he accurately talks about where the violence is accurate, where it's actually stemming from. Let me see if I can put this on the screen for you guys here. Put this on stage. All right, you guys should be seeing that at least, right? Yes, you are. And let's see if I get lucky here, if this is the clip.
Question. It's a perfect timing because with respect to Ken made a very good point about rejecting violence. I agree with Ken. The problem, of course, is that Ken's former boss, Donald Trump, pardoned a bunch of politically violent people earlier this year. He's even dangled pardons in front of the kidnappers.
So did Joe Biden.
the attempt to, I'm not here to defend Joe Biden, but Donald Trump pardoned a bunch of political extremists who attacked the Capitol. And he's also, Chris, dangled pardons in front of the people who wanted to kidnap and maybe kill Gretchen Whitmer, like horrible political extremists. He's talked about pardoning them as well. So that's a real problem. And we need the president, as you said.
And let's not fucking forget just the other day, right? When Donald Trump was questioned by a reporter, hey, do you think it's appropriate to kind of lower the flags for Charlie Kirk? And, really, you said absolutely nothing. And we lowered no flags for the, Democratic representative, Melissa Hortman, that was brutally murdered by one of your supporters that had an active fucking hit list that he was working through. And Donald Trump's response is, I'm not familiar. Who? Like, what? Excuse you? I'm sorry. Like, is that not the best representation of how ignorant these people are and how they only care when it's politically expedient for themselves? Because I don't remember any, huge press going on and push for the flags to be lowered nationally to have staff after one of our representatives, our politicians in this country, was brutally assassinated. And again, not to mention, I don't know if we'll get to the rest of that clip there from Eddie because it's about 4 minutes long. I know he probably does get to it in there, but I don't want to take up too much time because I don't know we don't have a ton. But basically, Jamie makes a good point here where, guess what? If you look at the majority of the political violence and the unrest, the unrest from the citizens and the citizenry that has taken place over the last, 2 or 3, it's the majority have happened under Donald Trump's leadership. Like under Donald Trump's watch, Donald Trump has seen more violence and public unrest under his watch than any time in the last fucking in recent memory, than any president in recent memory. And there's a whole host of things in examples that you could give. January 6th obviously being the most prominent one that will come to everybody's mind, right? The George Floyd protests. And it's like, it makes sense for us to continuously point out the actual facts of the matter, the actual statistics, the actual reality that we live in, and not be continuously blindsided and whitewashed with this bullshit saying that the violence is coming from the left when we seem to be the most level-headed motherfuckers on here, saying, hey, we can actively call out the egregious nature of this violence and say that it gets us absolutely nowhere and it actually moves us further backwards than anything, right? And this should take place in no civilized society. But we can also fucking live in reality and say, hey, these are the things that this guy aspired to. These are the things that the rhetoric that this guy used to say. This is the things that this guy used to promote. Like, two things can be true at the same time. We can call out the egregious nature of what happened, rightfully so, while also pointing out the reality that led us to this moment. And I don't think it's, I don't think you're being, I don't think you're being disrespectful or hurtful by giving your opinion, your God-given opinion as a fucking an American citizen on this matter. Nor do I think you should have retribution seeked upon you and your family because you didn't show the North Korea level type of fucking emotion or outrage to satisfy these right-wingers and Republicans that are now actively going for and continue to go for anybody that they don't see wailing on the side of the road, clapping their hands again like fucking Kim Il-sung just died in North Korea. And again, if you're not fucking clapping the hardest you possibly can till your hands bleed and there's not the most tears coming out of your face, then you're going to be looked at by the secret police. You'll be brought in. You'll be moved out of Pyongyang. You'll be moved into a fucking remote area of North Korea because you don't get to choose where you live there. You're assigned where you live, depending on how loyal you are and what you do for the nation. And that's exactly what's fucking going on here on the other side. We're not clapping enough like SEALs, apparently, on the other side. So I guess that means that we need that allows the right to quell free speech, to go against everything that they themselves report to support and advocate for, to seek vengeance and just retribution and violence against the side that, again, seems to be the most level-headed in this fight by far. All right, so let's see if we can get to a couple other clips here from Kash Patel's little run-in with everybody. I know he had a couple good instances with Eric Swalwell as well. I think they went into it. So that was the one we just saw. Let's see here if we can get into any more. On the morning of August 20th, Kennedy demanded two things to me that were inconsistent. Not sure if that's the same thing. Let's see here. Former CDC official. We'll just skip over that and see if we can get on to Kash Patel. My apologies if I'm sniffling. That's pretty rude of me to do. I'm not trying to. All right, let's see. This is another one here. Not sure. That's a ridiculous answer. Rand Paul tries to mag-explain vaccines to the former CDC. All right, so we'll stick on Kash. Here he is. Here's Jamie Raskin again, I believe, asking Kash Patel why he doesn't just release the entire Epstein file as he promised to do. Let's see Kash Patel's response to that.
Stop that. I'm not blaming anybody other than you. You're not keeping your word. You said that you would release all of the materials
Has
under your
anyone
direct
released
control.
more information on Epstein than I have? Has anyone?
Much
Did
more.
Comey, did Ray?
Much
Did
more.
they?
Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it, but it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders.
I'll see if I can find Dan Goldman because he's talking about court orders, and I think Dan Goldman kind of tries to explain how that's not legally the case after this. So I'll see if I can scroll and give more explanation as to, you know, what Kash Patel is trying to say is the legal binding, the reasoning why he's not able to release the entirety of the files, which again, everybody that has knowledge about the situation or, you know, any judicial background seemingly is calling out as bullshit. Right. And again, you can see how aggravated and agitated and, you know, not happy to be there Kash is. And again, this is his second day. He was in front of the Senate, if I'm not mistaken, today in front of the House. And you can tell he's not very happy to be there. All right, let's see if there's anything else on this one.
Could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
That's a tiny fraction of the material we're
That
talking
is
about.
not.
It is
How
a
do you-
tiny fraction.
How do you know that? Have you seen
No.
everything?
It's all misdirection.
How do you know
Time
that?
of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California is recognized.
All right, and here's the clip. Here's one of the clips from Dan Goldman, where he says your testimony here is all the witness statements are under a protective order, which is, I think, what Kash Patel was getting to in that last video. And then Dan Goldman, I believe, goes on to, and if you understand it, to explain why that is not the case, or is, seemingly not the case, allegedly not the case. All right, let's see what he says here.
And I want to understand what the court order prevents you from releasing witness statements that the FBI took.
You should know that as a real prosecutor, when the court hand down a protective order and a motion to seal, the material is sealed unless
So
that
your
judge
testimony
waives
here
it.
is that all of those witness statements are under a court order, a protective order.
We are providing.
And that's the point right there where I think Dan has him. And that's why Kash Patel will not answer the question. Like, I think that's where he actually gets him in there. So you're saying the witness testimony, which, again, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school. I'm not going to pretend to understand the, the legal fucking system in the process and how it works to the fullest extent. But seemingly he's trying to say that all of the testimony, the witness testimony, everything is sealed by the grand jury. And, Dan Goldman, who was a prosecutor for over 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, is coming out with alternative arguments as to why that's not the case here.
Your testimony here is that all of those witness statements are under a court order, a protective order.
So that's the question. So you're saying that all of those witness statements are under that court order, the protective order, and that you can tell that Kash Patel does not want to answer that question. Again, I don't know if I'm reading too far into that, if he's just sick of answering questions on the whole and he's just not going to give him anything, but it's clear that he does not answer this question directly, and he tries to kind of, dive into the ditch on the side of the road to see if he can kind of get around the roadblock here.
We are providing everything we can legally provide.
Now, that's not my question. My question is, why are those witness statements that are not grand jury testimony, that if they were under a protective order are no longer under a protective order, why are they not being released?
How are they not under a protective
Why
order?
are you not going to the court like you did for the grand jury testimony to unseal those records?
The DOJ did go to the court.
No, not on those records. Why aren't you going? You just went on grand jury.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
You are hiding the Epstein files,
Time
Mr.
of the
Patel.
gentleman has expired.
You are part of the cover-up.
Can I respond?
Sure can.
Any allegations that I'm a part of a cover-up to protect child sexual trafficking and victims of human trafficking and sexual crimes is patently and categorically false in the work of my
So I hope you will talk to them when they
Gentleman's
have
time is
requested
expired.
to speak with you. Because the
Gentleman's time is
victims have
expired. Gentleman
requested
yields
and you are
back.
not responding to them.
All right, so I think there's another clip here of Goldman and Patel going at it to talk about those witness testimonies again. Let's see if this is this the same one or is it different? Goldman testimony as a witness statement. I think this is a different one. Let's see what he says here.
knowledge, no.
Okay, let's talk about the witness interviews. 302s of witness interviews. Those are not subject to the court order. Those are not subject to any fictional sealed order for a search warrant. Why aren't you releasing those with the redacted names of the victims?
We are releasing as much as legally allowed. That's why we went back to
How
the
is that?
courts.
How is that not legally allowed?
Sir, do you know how court orders work? Do you know how protective orders work?
Actually,
Do you know how
Mr.
sealing
Patel,
orders
I was
work?
a real prosecutor for 10 years. I know exactly
so-
how.
so I was a
court
fake one?
orders- And I want to understand what the court order prevents you from releasing witness statements that the FBI took.
You should know that as a real prosecutor, when the court hand downs a protective order and a motion to seal, the material is sealed unless
So
that
your
judge
testimony
waives
here
it.
is that all of those witness statements are under a court order, a protective
I think
order.
that just kind of finishes out the same clip. But sounds like to me that Dan Goldman was saying that the DOJ went to the court for a very specific thing, but not for everything, right? And you can see that it might even be the case, and again, raise my hand, don't know the whole process, might even be the case that Kash Patel is at this moment, maybe possibly telling the truth about the legalities of this, but it's only because that, you know, the FBI and the DOJ hasn't sought out the appropriate measures to make sure that all the information could be released. If I'm what I'm gathering from Dan Goldman and his testimony, and you know his argument is the case. You know what I mean? So let's see if there's anything else here. This is where Ms. Lofgren, she asked how many times did Trump's name appear in the Epstein files. Kash Patel seemingly does not know. For somebody that has a command over these facts and the files, and has done all his due diligence to sift through and make sure that he can answer all of these questions accurately and honestly. You might have at least some, and I don't know if we saw it in any of these other things or if we'll see it in this clip, but you can see the stack of notes that Kash Patel has in front of him and the lawyers that are sitting behind him. But he's got, these cue cards, the cards about every fucking little thing that he's going to be questioned about and what to say. Weren't they making fun of Joe Biden for that exact type of thing? Like, wasn't it like it's a sign of weakness if you got to look at your notes? I don't know. I thought that was the whole thing. I know that's irrelevant to the facts of the matter and another case to be talked about, but just, I don't know. It seems like, Donald Trump has no problem coming out with a big fucking notepad with a Sharpie written note on it so he can remember some shit. But, other presidents that do it, anybody else that does it. And again, just to show the hypocrisy of these people.
Accurate, I said it wasn't.
So you're saying that none of this happened?
No, I'm saying it was inaccurate.
Okay. How many times did President appear in the Epstein files? More than 100? More than 1,000?
No, and what we've been able to release is what we've been legally able to release, and that has.
No, that's not the question. I asked you, how many times did the president's name appear?
I don't know.
It's your testimony. You do not know that answer.
The number of times, no.
Jesus. And then Thomas Massey here, according to the victims' documents in your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Staley CEO, Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims. That list includes 19 I'm gonna assume that list includes over 19 individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, and again, this is to contradict the fact that Kash Patel came out, I believe it was yesterday, and said that there is absolutely no credible evidence that he's seen to say that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked anyone to anyone. Like, let that sink in. And I know it's probably going to take a few for everybody to be like, what is going on right now? But let's see if Thomas Massey questioning Kash Patel and what he had to say here.
According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy.
I'm sorry. I really am sorry, and I know this is important, but I cannot stay focused with Harriet Hagman's fucking eyeballs looking back at me like a painting where only the eyeballs move and it feels like it follows you through the room. I mean, look, what is going on, Harriet? Harriet, what are you doing? Harriet, what are you doing? Just, can you duck for a sec, please? You're scaring the shit out of the kids. You're scaring the shit out of the kids. Good fucking grief.
One rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have.
Now, those
asked my
three,
FBI agent.
the 302 documents, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, were the same documents that Dan Goldman was just referring to in the last clip that we just played, those 302. So it seems to be, a focus of contention. At least the witness testimonies, the 302s, whatever they're, considering these 302s. And I apologize for my ignorance on the, judicial process of this whole thing. But again, I'm a plumber. What do you want from me? But again, Thomas Massey was part of that press conference with Marjorie Taylor Greene and other representatives there that, were calling for answers to this. So, and again, a Republican himself. So this is, again, goes to show that it's both sides of the aisle, as we've been explaining here, that have their respective questions. As we started the show with, the people have questions, and it's about a multitude of different things here. And it seems like that list continues to grow by the day, that the list of answers that the Trump administration owes to the American people, to not only, the American people, but also their own fans, their own base, their own people. And it seemingly is more looking like people, slowly, very slowly, not at any rapid pace, are becoming more willing to call out the administration or Donald Trump himself. I mean, I think something we need to talk about too, not to dive into it too early, but the fact that Candace Owens had 250,000 live viewers. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or the day before. 200. Let me say that again. 250,000 live viewers for one of her fucking shows, which is like beyond astronomical. I mean, we're talking, Midas Touch with almost 6 million subscribers, typically around you can hope for 20 to maybe 50,000. And excuse me if I'm getting that wrong, but I mean, just to kind of put it in perspective, but even she's now willing to call out Kash Patel, the FBI, what they've released, the information. Steve Bannon now coming out and saying, hey, this shit don't make any sense. What's going on here? Our own people don't seem to be feeding us the correct information. And again, just using those as examples of to show the willingness of the base, or what we used to consider the base, to now, kind of, flip the script and do a 180 and demand further answers and demand further action from their own people, which they were seemingly unwilling to do for a number of years, right? So, and again, I'm not saying this is happening at some huge rapid pace, but to see, again, a number like 250,000 live viewers for somebody like Candace Owens needs to be fucking looked at. Like, we need to be like, what's going on there? Like, I know, believe me, I know we need to do some digging and some battling on that one.
To review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information. And we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigation.
All right, so that's obviously just more bullshit from Kash Patel, and I wish I had enough time to kind of get into the rest of the clips. You can find a ton of these clips, like I said, probably on Blue Sky, Twitter, wherever you find yourself, Instagram, Facebook. posted by people like Aaron Rupar, Asen, probably Midas Touch, Ron Filipkowski, C-SPAN, that type of stuff. So if you want to check out the rest of this and what Kash Patel had to say, I would very much advise you to do so. But before we get into the questions again that people have with what's being fed to the public here as far as information, I wanted to obviously cover this as well. Something that we've been doing our best here at Blunt Politics to keep in the spotlight and to continue to highlight and this is Haaretz, ladies and gentlemen. This is an Israeli publication. I want to make sure that I'm not feeding you just some bullshit, right? This is, an Israeli publication, Haaretz known. Day 712, Israeli ground forces push deeper into Gaza City as hospitals report 62 killed across Gaza. Senior Hamas officials make public appearance in news interview following Doha attack. Let's see, there was a couple other ones here. Let me see. Where did the other ones go? Oh, what's it? Oh, you got to subscribe to it? Is that the whole thing? What, it shows you for a couple minutes and then you can't? All right, let's see if I can put this back on the screen then. All right, well, my plan to show you the Israeli publication failed, but I'm sure we could find a multitude of organizations at a point here. It's from 8 minutes ago, Al Jazeera. StreamYard. Put it there. How you doing? Israel has killed over 65,000 Palestinians and more over Gaza. Let's see. Dozens of Palestinians have been killed throughout the Gaza Strip since dawn as Israel continues its full-fledged ground invasion of its biggest city despite growing international condemnation. The dead include a child and his mother killed in an air attack on a residential apartment in the Shati refugee camp west of Gaza City. Now, there was also a statement made by one of the Israeli officials which was in that Haaretz report. Let me see here. I'm going to see if I can pull that back up for a second and see if I can get the statement, because it was just a disgusting quote, to say the least. Something about real estate. Let me see here. It's turning into a great real estate opportunity. It was something like that. Let's see here if I can pull this up for you guys. Boom, boom, boom. View on StreamYard. Pull this up. So let's see here. Medical officials reported 62 were killed in the IDF attack since the start of the day, including 40 in Gaza City. Here it is right here. Gaza Strip is becoming a real estate bonanza. Let me see if I'll even zoom this in right here. And I'm just to show you the lack of fucking empathy or care and how this is actually the determined outcome. Like, this is the goal. This is the fucking goal. There is no other way to determine otherwise when you're listening to people like Bezalel Smotrich talk about how the Gaza Strip is becoming a real estate bonanza. Finance minister. And negotiations have begun with the U.S. regarding a business plan for Gaza. As they're actively, again, first line, IDF kills 62. And I'm assuming that's just since the start of the day, as it says, including 40 in Gaza, right? Very next fucking statement, very next fucking pin on this. Finance Minister of Israel, Bezalel Smotrich, says the Gaza Strip is becoming a real estate bonanza. I mean, it's kind of hard to put into words the fucking psychotic detachment of reality that you need in order to see what's going on and what's happening and what's taking place and being like, oh, fucking, this is going to be one hell of a real estate bonanza. We're going to make fucking buku dollars here, baby. Like, we're already in talks with the U.S. for this fucking business plan. I mean, just calling this a business plan with the U.S. is fucking disgusting. Let that sink in. 62 people killed since dawn. And the U.S. is in negotiations with the people talking about this as a fucking real estate bonanza for a business plan? I mean, I'm really lost for words. But it's fucking tough to kind of put that into perspective on just how fucking egregiously monstrous it is to not only have that be what's going on, really, but to decide to callously call it a business plan. I mean, that is fucking head and shoulders above and worse than Lindsey Graham, wanting to see the best for the Ukrainian people, or at least coming out and saying he wants to see the best, only to follow that sentence with, because the U.S. can make fucking, a lot of money from the mineral resources and the natural resources of the land, and it would be great. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. So you don't give a fuck about the people. You just want the money. Not much different than this, right? The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry reported that 98 Palestinians were killed and 385 were wounded in IDF attacks in the past 24 hours. Additionally, it said 4 people died from starvation and malnutrition in the past 24 hours. UK Ambassador to Israel Simon Walter said the UK's recognition of a Palestinian state next week is not intended as a threat, and it's intended as a positive gesture. Our recognition will be a demonstration of our commitment to a peaceful future of two peoples living side by side in peace, which is, I don't know, it's a good gesture, but is fucking wholly laughable, I guess, at this point, to even talk about a peaceful future when we're watching day by day, hour by hour, the fucking military move into more and more heavily populated areas and the bigger areas, just fucking leveling this place, building after building, starving people one at a time, 10 at a time, 20 at a time. Unreal. The Hamas Gaza Health Ministry said the IDF bombed the Rantisi Children's Hospital on Tuesday night, leading to 40 hospitalized patients to flee. IDF warned Palestinians in Gaza City early Wednesday to leave through Salal al-Din Road in the next 48 hours. Cell phone and internet service were cut. So it continues, ladies and gentlemen. It continues. It continues into fucking, again, I just can't even get over that whole business plan, real estate bonanza. Like the sick and twisted mindset that you need to have in order to describe that situation like that, and to be like actively fucking chomping at the bit to get in there and build your fucking Trump Plaza Gaza is crazy. All right. But that brings us on to this next story that I want to touch on before we get into, I'm not good at time management. I need to figure out how to do that better. We'll just kind of go through this and talk about how Trump, the administration, clears first Ukraine arms aid paid for by allies. Sources say the Trump administration's first U.S. weapons aid package for Ukraine has been approved and could soon ship as Washington resumes sending arms to Kyiv, this time under a new financial agreement with the allies. Two sources familiar with the situation told Reuters. This is the first use of the new mechanism developed by the U.S. and allies to supply Ukraine with weapons from U.S. stocks using funds from NATO countries. Let's see here if they give a little breakdown. Undersecretary has approved as many as two $500 million shipments. See if it kind of gives a breakdown of what is going on. I believe it was some Patriot missiles. Let's see. It's the stuff they've been a lot of stuff. It's the flow. I don't know if they're really breaking it down piece by piece yet in this. According to experts, remains consistent air defense, interceptor systems, rockets, and artillery. So it doesn't seem like air defense missiles and first U.S. weapons package supplied under mechanism. Let's see what this says real quick. See if this is a breakdown. Let's see here. We'll include highly valuable missiles for Patriot air defense systems and HIMARS rocket launchers, Volodymyr Zelensky said on Wednesday. So far secured over $2 billion in financing for the U.S. produced weapons via the NATO-led mechanism called the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PURL. He said he expected total commitment funds to reach $3.5 billion in October. The first two batches worth $500 million apiece definitely include air defense missiles. Doesn't seem like they're getting too specific, but at least they know we'll be getting more ammunition for HIMARS, more ammunition for Patriot missile defense systems, which is a good thing considering the uptick in attacks that we've seen in recently coming from the Russian side. So always good to see. But again, more needs to be done. More needs to be sent. These ridiculous new mechanisms that needed to be put in place because Donald Trump doesn't feel like he needs or is obligated to send another dollar or another weapon unless it's fully paid for by whatever the hell the whole fucking rigmarole is ridiculous and egregious and goes against everything that the arsenal of democracy in which the United States stood as one time should be and should do. against, our adversaries and for our allies that we, again, made and had signed agreements to give up their nuclear arsenal in exchange for our protection in the event of this exact thing happening. But all right, let's just wanted to kind of put that on there for you guys as well. But there's one little thing here, a couple little clips that I want to show you, just to kind of highlight the fact that even the Republicans, even the prominent Republicans here, even people that have 250,000 live viewers somehow, aren't buying what is seemingly coming out from authorities. So let's see if I can put this on the screen for you guys. My apologies. I hope this isn't a jump scare. But this is just a little taste, just a little example of some of the dissent that we're seeing from these high-profile MAGA commentators. Again, from the information, about the information that is being released by the administration, by the people that they themselves put in power.
And as bad as it's presented in Utah, I'm not buying all of it. I'm particularly not buying those text messages. It just
you know what? It would probably be prudent and smart of me to show you guys these text messages, right? And then we can kind of talk about what we're talking, figure out what we're talking about and hear about that a little bit more. Images. Let's see here. There's probably a couple images here. It's just to fly through these real quick. So these were released, I believe, yesterday, if not the day before. Here's a full exchange that Tyler Robinson had with his roommate partner after Charlie Kirk was shot. Said it had been planning it about a week, said to delete the messages, read the full exchange. Now, no problem with this. A lot of people are like, well, this doesn't look like a screenshot of text. I have no problem understanding and believing that this is just a reproduction of the conversation, or that they at least do reproductions of the conversation for the media use without giving them the actual thing. So I have no problem with that. But if you read this stuff, like it just seems like a chat GPT message. Like if you were to be like, okay, what, if you put in this fucking prompt, like, okay, I'm two people, one just committed this crime, the other person doesn't know about it. Like, what would these two, using the information out there in the media, what would these two talk about? And it would come up with, I am still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem for a little bit while longer. Shouldn't be longer until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. Again, just right there in the first one says that he's the one that has the rifle, has to grab the rifle. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. The roommate said, you weren't the one who did this, right? Clearly suggesting that they had no prior involvement or knowledge. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude. They interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from the drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. The roommate said, why? Robinson says, why did I do it? Roommate said, yeah. The roommate says, yes. Robinson says, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson seemingly answers, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried about the old man, what my old man would do if I didn't bring it back. It's Grandpa's rifle. Says it has a serial number, but it wouldn't trace it to me. I worry about Prince leaving in the bush and changed outfits. Didn't have the ability at the time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find Prince. How the fuck will I explain losing it to my old man? Apparently, it's his grandfather's rifle. And again, is this plausible? It is. I mean, is there something that I know definitively to say that this is like not how anybody in the world talks? Of course not. But a lot of people have suggested that this just doesn't seem like the way 22-year-old kids or college kids or somebody in this type of a stressful situation that just went through what he went through or committed what he committed would talk. And it's seemingly, it's that both things are plausible. And I'm not saying this is an outright lie or anything like that. I'm just saying it's seemingly fishy that he gives every bit of information that he needs to give authorities in these text messages, right? And that, like, the timeline. And again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree. It's just saying questions are being raised, questions are being asked because of the lack of information that is credible and makes sense being released by the FBI, Kash Patel, Bongino, all of these eight. It just, a lot of it is raising more questions than it's answering, right? Than questions that it's answering. Let's see here. I got Grandpa's gun. I think that it was a $2,000 scope. like just weird things to be talking about. All of the information that is seemingly needed is in here. Where he left it, the weapon, how he changed, how the the guy that was originally arrested had no involvement in it. It's just, I don't know. A lot of it seemingly is begging and bringing up more questions again than it's answering, and that's why Steve Bannon, like I was just showing, is saying he doesn't
seems too stilted, too much like a script, actually a bad script. And as bad
right,
as
and that's just one, and then you go to here, which is Candace Owens, and then I think to round it out, we have a clip here from the I've Had It ladies from the I've Had It podcast, Janet Pumps there, where they're also kind of calling BS on some of this stuff. So it's not just one side of the aisle or the other, or people that have this intent or that intent, because seemingly to me these text messages would corroborate and would stand as ammunition, pardon the phrase, in this case, for people like Candace Owens and Steve Bannon to further their narrative. So the fact that they're calling this out, the fact that they're raising questions about it is like, well, why the hell would you be calling that? Like, it's strange. Like, so it's like even more questions being asked here. So let's see here what this says.
Yeah, these messages are clearly doctored, is what I would say. They're doctored. Now, they could decide why they're doing that. Tyler's being forthcoming. We're protecting him in some capacity. I find that to be unacceptable. Okay? Unacceptable. I want every single text message. I want timestamps. It is conspicuous that you are not telling us when this was sent, because it sounds like it's when the campus is on lockdown and he's got to go back and he's got to clean up. And then all of a sudden we're in the next day when his dad is getting clued in after the picture's been released.
And remind you, again, I'm not saying anything she's saying here is true. We should listen to her at all, but this is Candace Owens, very prominent fucking MAGA supporter, MAGA commentator, again, calling out Kash Patel, calling out Dan Bongino and the DOJ and the information that's being released, even though it kind of corroborates and seemingly corroborate. It's just, the whole thing is strange. What is going on? And again, this is just one of the things that I pulled up here too. Let's see if I can get this on screen, where it's not just these people either. It's not just people like me that are like, well, some of this ain't adding up here. Like prominent podcasts too. Janet Pumps, which have been growing exponentially in popularity lately, talking about how a lot of this doesn't really add up to them as well. So let's see if we can get into in our last few minutes here. And Mel just sent me something about breaking news here that the FBI is launching a manhunt after possible act of terror this morning in Pittsburgh. We'll see if we can dive into that as we're heading out. But just a couple minutes. Let me see if I can speed this up. Maybe we can get into a little bit more. We'll go 1.15. Here we go. Let's take it away. See what they got to say. See if it goes against or kind of seemingly sounds like they're having the same questions as everybody else is. Oh, it would be great if I unmuted it. That would probably help, unless you're good at reading lips.
After sleeping on the text exchange released by the prosecutors, you guys, I just want to say I'm calling bullshit on it. I do not think these are legit, and I'm not alone. There are bipartisan calls right now that what the prosecutors received from the FBI is total bullshit. It's not making sense. Put this up, Kylie. I am still okay, my love. Now, I have a 22-year-old son. He doesn't speak this way. A little while longer yet is another quote from the letter. Till we died of old age. Grab my unseen, a bit over a week. And then he refers to a squad car. He uses the phrase circle back. He refers to his car as a vehicle. This is just, there's something incredibly fishy about this. I do not trust Kash Patel's FBI. He's a conspiracy theorist.
That's
Dan
a good
Bongino
point.
is a conspiracy theorist.
That's a good point, because a lot of this stems from everybody's mistrust of how not only the people in charge, but how this is being handled and what we know about them in the past and how they're covering up for Donald Trump in the Epstein investigation. Like, a lot of this is like, well, how the fuck can we trust anything that's coming out, right? Like, I don't fucking, not only does it not make sense, but look at the people releasing this shit. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's like, fucking, I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's not making sense to me, ladies and gentlemen.
They had podcasts where they trash talked the FBI for 4 years, which was their audition to get this job. Their number one thing is that they are Trump loyalists. I'm just not buying that this kid texted ever since the election, my dad's been hardcore MAGA. If he and this roommate were in a romantic relationship, why do you have to say that? That would be assumed. Why are you giving all these details about changing clothes? I'm just telling you guys, it stinks to high heaven. I'm not.
Good point, though. That's a good point, though. That's a good point. If everybody's trying to say this is like, you know, a relationship that changed his life and motivated him to commit these acts and radicalized him, like, wouldn't it already be well known to this partner that his family is, fucking, deeply religious or deeply involved in the conservative movement, or, MAGA supporters? Like, wouldn't that already be like, it's either the relationship wasn't that fucking close, which again, why would they be saying the things that they're saying, or that person would probably already have the knowledge to be like, yes, I know that your family is like, we're together. Remember that whole part? Like, I know. Like, it's just a lot of fucking questions. And again, maybe it's, I'm not saying it's not plausible. I'm not saying this is like an outright lie. I'm not saying it's faked. I'm just saying it's raising questions. Like, it's not clear cut. Like, a lot of times you'll get information and you'll be like, oh, that makes sense, right? Like, you'll make sense. But when you hear like the kid had it in his pants, the gun in his pants, it was together, was limping, and then you got him going up the stairs, clearly bending both legs. Like, okay, where is it? Did he break it down in a porta potty somewhere? Where, every video that I've watched is everybody in a brightly lit room with a workbench with fucking, grips and vices to hold the shit down and tools they got. And it still takes them a fair bit of time to do it, even with knowledge and experience. But somehow we're led to believe that he broke it down. He put it together, broke it down, put it together, broke it down. Like, again, it's not making any sense. And like, once, I'm no gun expert or anything like that. But once you break down a weapon, wouldn't you then have to recite, recalibrate, takes a few shots to kind of sight the thing again before you just up there on the roof, just in a hurry, getting the thing out of a backpack, putting it together on the fucking roof in broad daylight. Like, it just, and then you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I don't freaking know. But I do want answers. I know I do want answers. I know I do want the facts. I know I do want to make sure that this type of shit is prevented and doesn't happen again. I do know that, but it doesn't seem like we're getting that information, right? And before I run out of time, before I toss it to my buddy Jeff Waldorf over on this space, let's just see if I can touch base on what the producer, my lovely producer Mel, has just sent over regarding. Share this tab instead. This is just on that update about what's going on in Pittsburgh. Excuse me. I was going to say Chicago, but it's not. Let me see here.
FBI is investigating a possible act of terrorism this morning in Pittsburgh at an FBI field office where, according to reports, a suspect rammed into the gate of the FBI field office. A massive manhunt is currently underway this morning. According to FBI officials, Donald Henson is his name, of Penn Hills, drove at a high speed at the main entrance of the FBI building in Pittsburgh.
And he got away? How the fuck do you get away? I mean, I'm not going to say this is just further example of the incompetency under the leadership of people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, but how do you ram an FBI gate at high speed and get away?
Overnight, earlier this morning, FBI special agent in charge in a briefing said that they are looking at it as an act of terror, that it was an exhaustive attack on the building, and thankfully no one was hurt. After the crash, according to the FBI special agent in charge, Henson allegedly left his car, took an American flag, and stuck it on the gate. Now they are actively looking for Henson this morning. A massive manhunt is currently underway throughout Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and in the surrounding areas. I'll provide you more updates as we get more information. As always, spread the word and follow along to stay updated on all the news.
Now, again, is this going to be like, from that little bit of information, is this going to be somebody that's, really pissed off again at the way the FBI is handling this investigation, is unhappy with the answers that they've been provided so far? Is this somebody that's, fucking discontent on the MAGA side at how Kash Patel has been, involved in the government cover-up and conspiracy to hide pedophiles, to protect pedophiles, and to protect the president of the United States and his criminality and his involvement in it? I don't know. But questions will be raised. I'm sure we'll get more information. I'm going to toss it over to Jeff over on this space. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Matt, and everybody watching over there. Thank you so much to the mods over there. I appreciate you. Everybody here on Blunt Politics, make sure you stick around so I can thank everybody that gifted and donated to the show. I really do appreciate you guys. Just so you know, I'm probably going to take tonight off of the show just because I feel like absolute ass, and I don't want to become too run down and not be able to cover these things as they go. So I'll probably take my first show in, I don't know, what is it, 2 years almost now, tonight. So make sure you're checking out some of the other fabulous creators on there, and then hopefully when I come back Sunday, I'll be fresh as a daisy. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate everybody. Thank you, Toma, to this space as well. And make sure you're checking out Jeff Waldorf over there. I appreciate it. And make sure you stick around so I can thank everybody. Let me see here. Let me pull up Venmo so I can thank all of you fabulous people as well. I feel like I'm losing my voice as I go. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate that. Oh, my goodness. That is so kind of you, Nancy. I appreciate that very, very much, as well as Nicole, as well as Barbara, Nancy again, Jennifer, as always, Thomas, thank you so much, Laurie, Damon, and Nancy again. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Nancy, I really do appreciate you. What's today? Do we have any? What's today's date? The Zoom's coming up on the 25th, so make sure everybody's got that checked out too. You can sign up for that at patreon.com/BostonBrian. Again, the Venmo's up in the corner over here somewhere next to my finger. You can put that on there. This is my the updated schedule. Make sure you remember that. I apologize that I'm not feeling well. Let me see here if there's anybody on YouTube that was kind enough to deliver as well. Thank you so much, Juicebox. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And not to forget, tomorrow we're going to be having our interview with Kat Abaguzela. Don't forget that. I want to make sure that I'm feeling fresh for that as well. So we got our show tomorrow. Don't forget that. And let me see if I can put that up there as well. Give me a second. Thank you, Juicebox. I appreciate that. There we go. Give me a second. All right, so make sure you guys are tuned in for that tomorrow as well. Very excited to be talking to her, chatting with her. Recently we saw her being moved off the street by, law enforcement, where she's putting her foot down and standing up for what she believes in. And I think that's going to be a great conversation. So hopefully you guys check that out. And thank you so much, JD. I appreciate it. Hopefully I do feel better. I really hope I do very soon. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, guys, for your friendship, your loyalty, to this show. And I'm going to grab a rest, and hopefully I'll be back tomorrow fresh and fit. So thank you, guys. I appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you're hitting that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 15K. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Thank you for your help. Thank you all. Thank you to the mods. I appreciate everything you do. Appreciate you keeping that chat a safe place. And thank you to everybody that comes in and day out and represents for the community. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you tomorrow. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Peace.
Nazis.
Don't get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Obama. Obama. Call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Yesterday's a hard word for me.
All I smell is your bullshit.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.